Hello, welcome to Matters of Decorum. I'm Scott Corum. This is what matters to me. Still working with the new rig. I'm kind of getting used to it. We'll see how long it lasts today. I got to do some interesting lighting to make the green screen thing work out properly. I'll talk about the technical details if someone asks me about the technical details. Continuing the trend of answering questions and comments and whatnot from past episodes. Last week I talked about my favorite gaming experience in video games. The viewer Blackstone Plainview 6553 commented mentioning that they gathered that I tend towards games which are less scripted, but asked, however, what are your favorite, more strictly scripted games? Thank you for the question, and thank you for viewing. Let's talk about the amount of scripting I like in a game and what I get out of it. I'm going to talk about some of the games I'm currently playing with the Warriors Wednesday, because they're very sandboxy. Conan Exiles. Really fond of Funko's Conan Exiles. There is a meta plot. There are things that happen in the world on a regular basis, but it's meant to be an online game with a heavy PvE influence. So there's not a lot of stuff that you can do to permanently affect the environment in a game like Conan Exiles. I love the game. I love it a lot. And because I am with the Warriors Wednesday when I'm playing it, everyone there is kind of a builder. We like games where we can build structures and build up little communities for ourselves, or build outposts where we're doing specific tasks of mining or bringing home friends. There's a lot to that game. There isn't a storyline aside from you've been brought to this land or this island and as a slave, and now but everything there has been wrecked, and the infrastructure for keeping slaves was destroyed in a revolt, and now you're just trying to survive and gain power, perhaps eventually escape from this land. That's it. That's all there really is to it. There's points of interests that are scripted and very repetitive. There are lots of NPCs which are scripted and very repetitive. But given that framework, there's still just this tremendous amount of freedom to explore and build, which I really like. But there comes a point where you've gone up all the levels and you have beaten up all the monsters and you've explored the entire place, and there's not much else keeping you there. There's only so much self-direction that you can do. Then there's the Fun Pimp's 7 Days to Die, a zombie survival game with a heavy crafting survival element, which I really like. The story is you are thrown out on your ass in a post-apocalyptic world where zombies are everywhere. Maybe you can find a trader to help you out, give you some missions, some stuff to buy, but you've got to build up your skills and build infrastructure and get better weapons and keep improving yourself, because every 7 days the zombies form a horde and will come after you. And every horde is progressively more difficult to deal with. It's not a storyline for a continuing game. It's a tower defense game with a first-person shooter element to it. Again, love playing the game. I am planning on doing some work with 7 Days here on this channel, but I'm going to have to go to mods to put in enough of a storyline that it's going to be able to let me make engaging content. Then there's Empyrean, Galactic Survival. Very, very fond of that game. But again, it's the same thing. You've got a sandbox world. You're building yourself up, going out, fighting the enemies, trying to increase in skill and power until you don't have to worry so much about the enemies anymore. There's a limit to how far that goes. These games are effectively unscripted. There are scripted encounters, but they are, because again, these games rely on a player versus player play model. You're going to have people just show up and start creating factions and fight with each other. And in the meantime, everything happening in the world is an inconvenience to the people who are trying to make things happen. Like we're going to have this big war between our factions, and you build that stuff up, and yeah, the zombies are going to come. We'll just have to deal with that when it happens. So if I'm going to go to a more scripted game, what's among my favorite more scripted games? I want something that is sandboxy. Don't get me wrong. I like exploration. I like being able to choose my path through the world. I like building. I like a crafting system that lets me do some construction, work on my personal equipment, work on a settlement or something. And I want a story. I would like there to be an overriding story with bits and pieces that I can pick up as I go along. Maybe there's an overarching story arc that I'm trying to pursue something. There's information and there's lore, and I need to learn not just how to craft things and what monsters you got to shoot with what bullets, but I also want to learn lore about the world. I want there to be questions that I develop as I go through it, and opinions that make me feel things, and characters to interact with. I have played this game before. I've played it on this channel. It's been quite a while. Supervillain plays Fallout 4. Fallout 4 has got to be my top more scripted game. Bethesda's good at doing this. I'm having issues with Starfield. I will probably talk about those in another video. Let's talk about what Fallout 4 does right. I prefer it to most of the other Fallout games. I certainly prefer it to 76. And one, I have a variable. I can make my own character when I start. The character is stepping into a role in the world, and I'm not fond of the first 5-10 minutes of Fallout 4. I don't really like how that story starts, but it is still an engaging story, and it motivates the character from the beginning. You've got to find your kidnapped baby and the man who killed your wife. Okay. On this path, you will encounter the factions in the form of people that you're helping, or people who have sent out a distress call, and you show up and they appreciate your help and ask you to join them. Okay? You can build entire settlements. Not just a building, not just a headquarters for yourself, but a settlement for people to live in, where people will get jobs and take on tasks and do things they need doing around the settlement. You can assign them to jobs. You're building a community, literally. And all of these NPCs, you can talk to them. Most of them have some amount of dialogue. Many of them might have other things for you to do. And when you go and do these things for other NPCs, Preston Garvey notably, but the ones who give you quests and the ones who just toss out random things that maybe you should look into that, the environments are constructed with storytelling in mind. There's lore built into the environment. There's things you're interacting with. There's little bits and pieces of the story of what happened, how the Great War came about, what has happened to the country that you're standing in, what your role in this was. All really kind of amazing stuff. In the middle of this, there are moral quandaries and questions about consciousness and high science fiction concepts. The world building in Fallout 4 really comes out, and while there are hundreds, if not thousands, of scripted events, they kind of have a correct order, but you don't have to follow it in that order. You can wander around and chart your own path through Fallout 4. Pick up some of the DLCs, which I did, Automata and Nuka World. They weren't perfect, but they all added to the story. They added to the world, they added to the world building, they added to the lore. All of the scripting contributed towards an engaging experience with a world that feels alive. 7 Days to Die, Empyrean, you are in very bare worlds that might have a few individuals you can interact with, but they're merchants at best. There's not a interaction. You're not developing relationships. You're not romancing anyone in 7 Days to Die, no matter how much I might have stalked Trader Jen for a little while. That wasn't my best moment. Even talking about Conan, while there's more people and there's more opportunities to interact, none of that forwards the story. None of that builds up the lore of the world. You're mostly getting attacked by people that you're having to beat up and occasionally knock out and put on a wheel of pain so they will come and work for you. Not a lot of storytelling, no interactions, no romance unless you bring them with you. Fallout 4 includes fairly complex relationship mechanics. Is it perfect? No. Fallout 4, however, gets right next door to a good role-playing game experience. I'm gaining levels, I'm building up my stats, I'm putting points into skills, I'm building better equipment and better armor and going out and getting resources to make all this stuff happen. I'm interacting with people, a lot of people. Not everyone I meet is trying to kill me. It's not all a combat encounter. Sometimes there's someone who needs help or is just an interesting person in the background, and you get to learn more about them and engage with the world. You can have different companions who follow you around. With a couple of mods, you can have a number of these companions follow you. And your companions not only engage in complex relationship mechanics with you, you can romance most of your companions, but also they help introduce you to the world, because every different companion you can take who can accompany you adds their observations of the world around you and the history of the world and the world building as you experience things. You find a building, you've got 7 different companions, each one's got a different thing to say about the building. It's a proper, scripted, role-playing game experience. It is single player. It does not have a PvP element. And I think that is why it works as well as it does. Because there is a certain amount of repetition. Encounters respawn. Combats respawn after a while. If you play it for quite some time and stay in the same areas, you might get a little bored. It might get a little repetitious. But then there is a storyline running through it. You've got a task. You've got a thing to follow. You've got a thing going on that's going to take you, if you follow the main quest line, it's going to take you through all of the factions, introduce you to all of the main players, and You're going to have choices to make, and your choices change what the world looks like and how things work in that world. And eventually you get to a point where you have completed the main quest line. You're not done with the game. You can still go out there and do things, and things have changed as a result of your decisions. At that point, the world starts getting very repetitive, and the DLCs do help spice that up a little bit, each with their own quest lines. But limited playability, unlimited replayability. I can't not tell you how many times I have played through Fallout 4. I haven't gone back for a while, but I might. I could very easily reinstall Fallout 4 today and play for 100 hours. It's probably my favorite near role-playing game experience in a computer game. Skyrim, another Bethesda game, it's okay. Fantasy's not my favorite genre. It has the same story elements and gives you the companions and the story elements and all that as well, just where there's magic and a lot of things that one-shot you when you're early on and lead to tremendous amounts of frustration. Starfield, theoretically, runs the same way. There's at least one quest line in it that I hate, which I am trapped in at the moment. Not so much because of the game mechanics, because of how I pursue games. So a lot of it's on me, but still not fond of Starfield right now. But Fallout 4, kind of the pinnacle of that set of experiences. I've got a Steam library with a lot of games in it, many of which I don't play anymore. A lot of them are there because the Warriors were looking for a different game to play. We all got something and tried it out, especially when sales come along. You pick up that game really cheap and you play through it and see if you like it. And there's 3 that we like. There might be a couple more out there, but Craftopia was a good game for a while. It was really glitchy. They've done a lot of updates since the last time we played it, so we can give that a try. It's a fantasy crafting survival game, and it's, for a fantasy crafting survival game, perfectly serviceable. Well, now it might be. We'll see if they fixed the glitches. But all in all, yeah. I mean, Fallout 4 hit that balance of a genre that I like, characters that are engaging, relationship mechanics that I find functional, lots of lore, lots of background, tons of the ability to explore your world and change the world. Your decisions matter. They might be multiple choice decisions, but they matter. All of these things inform how I like to run role-playing games, how I play at the tabletop. Because I like to give satisfying experiences. I may talk about that in a future episode. The lessons I can take from computer games and put on the tabletop for rolling dice to. But for now, yeah, favorite more strictly scripted game, Fallout 4, still absolute top of the pile. Thank you, Blackstone Plainview 6553, for your question and your comment. Very kind, really appreciate it. And thank you for following me along on this particular ramble. I'm Scott Quorum. This is what has mattered to me. I will see you next time on the next Matters of DeCorum. And now, over to Uncle Drac for the outro. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't enjoy this video, give it a thumbs down. Feedback is feedback. If there's any other topics you would like to hear Scott talk about, questions you'd like him to answer, subjects you'd like him to cover, please leave a comment down below. He will love getting your comment, and you will love leaving him one. If you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, why not? This channel is awesome. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. If you do, you might also want to hit the little notification bell so you're alerted when these videos become available. If you would like to support this channel in a more substantial manner, we invite you to hit us up at the Patreon page, www.patreon.com/ScottCorum, and consider donating. Absolutely anything helps and allows us to create better content more often. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.